Hi everybody, this is Jo and I'm bringing you the next energetic shift update. So this is coming after the new moon, which closed the eclipse portal down that started on the 26th of December. So much has happened in that time. We also had the full moon eclipse as well on the 10th of January, so there's been lots going on. You probably felt that. I hope you're doing okay now afterwards, but I know for me things are still being very up and down, shall we say. So I've got loads to say and it's quite hard to put it into an order that makes sense, so I'm just going to do my best. I think part of the problem is I can see the big picture and it all links in together like a big spider's web, and it's really hard for me to separate out things, and I start talking about one thing and it leads me on to something else and I get distracted from what I was supposed to be saying in the first place. So hopefully I will be able to get everything across that you need to know. So for me, this eclipse portal has been about clearing and processing stuff related to trust. Trust in our soul, in the higher power, whatever you want to call it, whether it's the universe, God, source, whatever. Trust in the bigger plan, in the whole shift to 5D. It's a massive plan, and so we've been clearing and healing everything related to trust. Now that can manifest in many ways. It can be bringing up fears. It can manifest in things that happen in your physical life, and actually it doesn't really matter how it manifests because you're kind of clearing the same energy as what I've been shown. So what we're doing is creating a collective shift in that trust, and that's what the eclipse portal was all about. It wasn't just us dealing with trust on our own individual level, but it was on a grander scale. It was a whole collective thing, and what I've been shown is that the second wave are now online, and so I kind of see it all separated out. Well, not separated out. I can see the collectives quite clearly. What I've actually been shown is, though, that how's the best way for me to explain it? It looks like a giant brain when I've been shown it, and it started off with the maverick people who were leading the way. Then the first wave joined that group in this big collective brain, and then the second wave have now come online inside that brain, and so it's like one collective brain. Obviously the third wave will join up later on too, but what happens is, like, the people who've gone first, they've done some clearing already and they're there trying to hold the space. The first wave have come online, and there's turbulence as the first wave come online. This is the whole thing about the unity consciousness, because we are all connected, and that's probably why I'm seeing it as a brain. But once the first wave then joined, of course they joined with their scuzzy stuff that needs to be cleared still. So people are coming online in this unity consciousness, 5D consciousness, whatever you want to call it, and they're bringing their stuff with them that they need to heal, and they're there because they're ready to heal it. But the people who are already in that group, who are holding space, are being affected by that energy too. So it's probably not your stuff necessarily that you're feeling, but you're still helping to clear it anyway. So I hope that makes sense. So as we've got this second wave who are just joining now, and I feel like a lot of them will have been triggered by the eclipses to kind of wake up and to join that 5D consciousness, they are obviously bringing their scuzzy stuff that needs to be healed and brought to the surface too, and the rest of us are all here to support them while they do that, to help that process. So it really is a group effort, but you only do it by processing the stuff that comes to you. This isn't about you going out necessarily and doing any mission work. That's something that's different, so please don't muddle the two up. Doing the kind of clearing work and your own consciousness work as it comes to you is different from any other mission work. I feel like the 5D shift is a separate mission in that respect. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's clear enough, because it's quite hard for me to, like I say, separate things out, and it's so different from what we've been used to that it's really hard to put that into words. Okay, so you may have felt things coming up for you that you thought you had dealt with, and you know, perhaps you had, perhaps you still had some residues of that stuff that you needed to deal with, but also, as I said, you may well be helping with the collective clear up there too. So we're being kept very busy. Okay, let me have a look at what other notes I've got here. This trust stuff, I feel like I need to talk a little bit about what that might be, because as I said, it can be very different for different people. For me personally, like, I can see the bigger picture really quite clearly. A little bit too clearly really, because it feels quite overwhelming, because I can see just how much there is to be done and how much is being done. So it feels quite overwhelming, and I feel what everybody else is feeling too, so that's really overwhelming. So because I've got this kind of bigger view, an overview of everything that's going on, I sometimes struggle to see the smaller picture, shall we say. And it can be really helpful to see the bigger picture when the shit's hitting the fan. It can be quite useful to think, oh, I know why this is happening, it's all for a really good reason. But actually sometimes, like I said, it can be quite overwhelming. So to be able to see the smaller picture is where our trust can be tested, I suppose. So what I'm talking about is when things are happening in our own life, things that we need to deal with as an individual, it can be very difficult to trust in it happening for the best and highest good. It comes out for a reason, and it's clearing, it's bringing all the horrible stuff that we don't want to the surface, but it plays out in ways that brings up fear, and we struggle to trust because of it. And that's what I feel like this eclipse portal has been about on an individual level. Being able to trust in your smaller picture, even though what's happening might not be very pleasant, it is coming out for the right reasons. I'm saying this because I know that several people have messaged me separately to tell me this kind of stuff that's going on for them, and the situations are all very different, but what I'm seeing behind it is this trust that has been, well, we're clearing out everything everything that stops us from trusting, shall we say. So we're clearing out all the blocks to trust. And that's not very nice, because it makes us feel, it brings up a lot of survival issues for people, especially when they feel like they've got no control over their physical reality and stuff is happening kind of to them. They don't really understand why, they don't want it to happen, and they feel like they're doing something wrong. But please know that it is the blocks to trust that are being cleared, so that you're able to trust more easily. And the more that you trust, then the stronger your vibration is in the 5D. So, yeah, trusting in the smaller picture can be harder to do because it's more personal to us. And this is what we're being called to do, to trust even when there's chaos around us. And I do feel like there may well be, a bit more chaos to come. There's several eclipse periods this year, and lots of big astrological energy, not to mention any of the other energies that might be coming in And so there's going to be a lot of this stuff that's stirred up, and it's really important that we can trust in the smaller picture of our life. And our life is, you know, part of that bigger picture, so it's really important that we get our little patch sorted. That's the only bit that we can look after, really, and sometimes we may not have control over what's going on outside of us, and it's our job then to control what's going on within us, which is really hard because, you know, I've been through it all myself. All of this stuff comes up for me too. I'm not immune to it. Just trying to think if there's anything else that I need to say about that. I found a really good quote that I wanted to share as well. It's by a man called Mark Manson, so you might want to look him up. He's sort of a personal development, dating coach. He talks about anything and everything really, but he's always got an interesting spin on things. So I've been following him for the last, I don't know, 6 years, 8 years, something like that. And he sent an email out today, and one of the quotes in it really kind of brought together everything that I was like mulling over that has happened since that new moon, since that eclipse portal. And the quote is, "Distrust is not a bug, it is a feature of the growth process." And I really like that, because we have to see where we don't trust in order to be able to overcome that. And actually, if we are totally trusting everything, how can we be growing? How can we be changing? How can we be stepping outside of our comfort zone if we totally trust everything? We're obviously not. So if you're feeling insecure, fearful, and not able to trust in the bigger picture, the smaller picture, in what's happening to you, then you're probably on the right track, because you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, or you are being pushed outside of it, shall we say. So I really liked that analogy there. So if you're feeling a bit off about those kinds of things, know that you're going in the right direction. It's one of those, feel the fear and do it anyway, but this is very much a trust related learning curve, shall we say. So I've been wondering myself, this is a little aside to the stuff that I've talked about, kind of going off on a tangent a bit, but I've been meaning to talk about it for a while, because last year I had some idea about what was coming in terms of big energy periods and, you know, what to expect, and I haven't had that this time. So I'm thinking, what am I supposed to tell people? I don't know what I'm supposed to tell people, but I think, you know, part of that is related to what I have just talked about, that trust, and a lot of it is about being present as well, and not focusing on what's to come too much, and dealing with what we're presented with right now. I think a lot of the time when we are focusing too far ahead, or perhaps even too far behind, we're actually disassociating from what we're supposed to be doing right now. And I've noticed that I do that. I used to do it to a greater degree in the past, but I noticed where I'm still doing it now. And it's, let me see if I can explain it. It's like if something comes up that I don't feel comfortable with, and I don't want to deal with it, then I start to think about, you know, what's coming next. And it kind of pulls me out of what I could be doing right here, right now. And so I think this is part of the reason why I'm not guided to share kind of advanced notice, not too far in advance anyway, anymore. Because it's, you know, the whole point of being in 5D is that we trust in what's happening right now. It's the only thing that's real, because the future is what, you know, what we're creating right now. So we can project anything that we want to onto the future, but if we're not doing anything now, we're not making that happen. And so it's about dealing with what comes up right now, without worrying too much about what's coming next. So I hope that makes sense, because I feel a little bit like I may have, let people down or something by not being able to, say what's come next. But it's really not important. Just in the same way as I don't feel anymore like it's really important where this energy is coming from that is supporting us, or what specifically it's healing, because it's just going to look different for everybody else. And the energy is just energy to help us regardless of where it's coming from. So all that we need to focus on is that we're doing what we need to be doing right here, right now. So I hope that makes sense as well. Before I decide if there's anything else that I need to say before I go, I'm going to be creating another little video in my Tools for the Shift series. So I'll be posting that on the YouTube channel as well. It's got its separate playlist. So they're tips that will help you to navigate the shift to 5D for yourself. A lot of kind of self-helpy type things out there. Well, no, I mean, it's not self-help. A lot of the stuff that you read out, like on the internet or whatever, about the shift to 5D or New Earth or whatever they call it, it focuses on how they can help you, and there's so much that we can do for ourselves. Yes, we all need support, but it's really important to realise your own power and how much you can do yourself, and that's why I'm posting those little videos, to give you things that you can use to help yourself whenever you need to. So it'd be a really good idea to kind of bookmark the page for that playlist if you can, and you can go back to the playlist whenever you need to. They're all little chunks of videos. I've done a grounding meditation for one as well, so you can go back to use that to help you as well. So they're things that you can use to help yourself, especially kind of on a day-to-day routine basis, so that you don't have to have outside help all the time. Yes, we all need outside help sometimes, especially for a big clear out, but there's so much that we can do ourselves that it's really important that we kind of at least have a go before we turn to somebody else. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, I haven't got any last messages for you. So I hope what I've shared today has made sense and that it's helped you. It feels like it's a little bit bitty, but that's where we're at now. There's lots of stuff that's going on. Different bits are being cleared up depending on where this trust or the lack of it shows up in our lives. And so if you've got something that's stressing you out in your day-to-day life right now, look at where you're not trusting, you're not able to trust, where there's some block to you trusting in, what's going on is for your best and highest good. Of course, if there's anything that I can help you with, you know how to find me. There are links down in the little box below. Might be a good idea to like and subscribe as well, so that you can find notifications of the new videos that come out that will help you as well. So thank you so much for watching. I'll speak to you next time. Bye.